Hello again, folks. I'm Troy.
And I'm Dean.
And this is episode 4 of the 6-part video series all about our motorcycle trip from Portland, Maine to Labrador.
And back again.
We wanted to find out if there's any adventure left in the Trans-Labrador Highway now that it's mostly paved. At the end of the 3rd episode, we had just made it to Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
We were staying with Mike and Liz, who were related to a friend of a friend.
They were so nice, we decided to rest up for a day in Happy Valley, Goose Bay. So naturally, we went to a soccer tournament. Mike and Liz were so awesome. So awesome, in fact, it was hard to leave the next day.
It was even harder because it was snowing that morning.
It was snowing. And I'm sure they thought we were nuts, leaving in the snow and all. But time was wasting, and it was 250 miles to Port Hope Simpson over the last and longest unpaved stretch of the whole loop. So off we went. I was convinced it was just spitting snow, and it would soon be rain. And as it turned out, I was completely wrong. So here we are on the Trans-Lab Highway. What's today, Dane?
It's Saturday, June 2nd.
This is great! There's no bugs! No bugs at all!
As the day went on, it got worse and worse, and we eventually slowed to a crawl.
It became really clear that we weren't going to make Port Hope Simpson that day. Making matters worse, my heated gear was draining my battery. Going so slow, I wasn't turning enough RPMs to keep it all charged. So when we stopped for coffee, Dean actually had to jump me to get me going again.
In the late afternoon, we started looking for a place to camp.
We're hunkered down somewhere in Labrador, 100 miles outside of Cartwright and 100 miles outside of Goose Bay. And we stopped because we couldn't go any further, and we're going to camp here. Outside some sort of trapper's cabin that we have chosen not to break into just yet.
Because that's what Americans do.
Right, we don't want to be ugly Americans and break into some Labrador trapper's cabin, even though it's right there and the plywood on the window is really soft.
Here's to the weather on June 2nd.
Okay, so fast forward a little bit, and it's getting really cold out there and the snow is still coming down, so we pop the window out of this cabin and Dean's bailing the water out of the stove. We're gonna stay here and thank whoever's cabin this is for helping us out. Because it felt a little scary in terms of cold and snow. And yes, we're stupid Americans, a little underprepared and a little underplanned. We were able to get in the cabin without breaking anything, and there was dry firewood and a stove, and soon we were toasty and drying everything out.
In the morning, it was still cold, but the snow had stopped.
Dean went out to see if his bike would start. Yes!
So we left a note of thanks and some cash just for the firewood, just in case the owner ever came back.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get very far before my tire went flat. And changing it and patching the tube out there in the bitter cold seemed so daunting.
So we decided to leave the bike and go back to the cabin, decide what to do from there. Maybe we could warm the tire up enough there to fix it.
Yeah, but in the end, we didn't have to, because 2 forest firefighters named Aaron and Kendall stopped and offered to take me and my bike back to Mike and Liz's cozy garage in Goose Bay. So Dean and I got stranded here in this, we got snowed in and we found this cabin and we got in. This cabin was a real lifesaver, and then we set out this morning and my bike got a flat tire and we had to come back here, and this cabin has kept us warm and safe all night and all day. We got little fish bones. We're going to let them go up the chimney in this perfect hobo place. To the 4 winds.
If you don't know who Fishbones was, go back and watch episode 1.
Do your homework. As always.
We'll take this one.
Yeah. Be right there. That's the fellow who's come to save us and bring us back to Goose Bay. See ya. So I rode back to Happy Valley, Goose Bay in the warm cab of the truck while Dean rode his bike through the cold all the way.
Though they were surprised to see us, Mike and Liz were as nice as ever to let us use the garage to fix Troy's bike.
Thanks, Mike and Liz.
Thank you, Mike
for
and
everything.
Liz. Thank you.
You know, the next day, with the sun out and a brand new tube in my tire, we set out for Port Hope Simpson.
Again.
And that's the end of episode 4.
Tune in to episode 5 as we ride across the final frozen stretch of Labrador and catch the ferry to Newfoundland.
Bye.
Bye.
before we left the cabin for a second time.
me.
Yeah, I know that. I'm just telling you how it goes.
I almost sounded like Rick Steves. Tune in to episode 5 as we ride across frozen stretch of Labrador and I light up a big fat joint.